You ever stood on a concrete porch, brand new, poured just 3 years ago, and watched it crack apart like a dry riverbed? Now picture this. My grandfather's barn in Pennsylvania. Floor poured in 1934. 90 years ago. I'm standing on it right now. Not a single crack, not one hairline fracture, nothing. Same country, same climate, same brutal freeze-thaw winters, completely different results. 2 floors, same purpose, completely different fates. So I started asking the only question that made sense. What did they know that we forgot? And what I found made me genuinely angry. Because the answer wasn't expensive technology. It wasn't some elite contractor with special equipment. It was a $1 powder sitting on the shelf at your garden store right now that the Amish have been quietly using for over 300 years, and the modern cement industry spent the last 70 years making sure you never found out. Stick with me, because by the end of this, your concrete will never crack again. Let me take you somewhere most people never go. Gordonville, Pennsylvania, deep in Amish country, horse-drawn buggies on the main road, no power lines, and a buggy repair shop that has been running since before your grandparents were born. I walked in and asked to look at the floor. The owner, 3rd generation, just smiled and waved me through. That floor was poured in 1952. Over 70 years of heavy wooden wagon wheels, metal horseshoes, iron tools dropped and dragged across it every single day. And it looked new. I crouched down and ran my hand across it. No pitting, no spalling, no fractures, nothing. It looked like it had been poured last spring. I had to know what was in it. Through the shop owner, I got connected to an elderly bishop in the community, one of the elders who still remembered the old ways. I expected some complicated formula, some secret passed down in a leather-bound book. Instead, he looked at me calmly and said, "We added powder to it. That was it. That was the whole answer." He explained that when his grandfather came over from Switzerland, they brought the practice with them. Every concrete mix, barns, floors, foundations, had this specific powder added before the water went in. Nobody questioned it. Nobody stopped. It just worked. Fine. Pale. Almost like flour. Comes from clay. Mixed from the earth. And that is when everything clicked. Here is what nobody at the hardware store will tell you. Modern Portland cement, the gray stuff in every bag at every home center, was standardized in 1940, and the lifespan they designed into it was 50 years. 50, not 100, not a lifetime. 50 years. There is even a term for it in manufacturing. Planned obsolescence. Design something to last just long enough, but not forever. Because if your concrete never cracked, you would never need to hire anyone to replace it. Your grandfather's barn doesn't follow that standard because it was poured before the rules changed. Here is what they quietly took out. Penn State Extension published a soil and masonry study in 2008, confirming that pre-1930 farm concrete samples contain between 3 and 7% of a finely ground mineral that modern mixes do not include. Those samples were stronger after 80 years than fresh modern concrete is on day 1. That mineral is called pozzolan. The cheapest, purest form is called Metakaolin. Agricultural grade is sold as Kaolin clay, under $1 a pound, at your garden store. Right now, the Amish in Lancaster County have been mixing it into every floor, every foundation, every cistern they pour for over 150 years. The recipe came over from Switzerland in the 1700s and they never let go of it. While the rest of American construction chased industrial efficiency and corporate supply chains, the Amish never abandoned the old formula. 300 years, same powder, same results. While the rest of us are patching our driveways every 5 years. Drop a comment right now. How old is the oldest concrete on your property? I want to see what is out there. Because some of you might already be living on something extraordinary, and you do not even know it. What if I told you that the concrete industry knows their product fails early? What if there is a government document from 1936 proving that a $1 additive makes concrete 3 times stronger? And that document was quietly pulled from circulation? What if the reason your driveway is cracking right now is not an accident? Because today, we are not just talking about chemistry. We are talking about a $400 billion industry that had every reason to make sure you never learned what the Amish never forgot. Let us start with the chemistry, because once you understand this, everything makes sense. When Portland cement mixes with water, it produces two things. First, calcium silicate hydrate. That is the good stuff. That is your strength. But second, and this is the problem, it also produces calcium hydroxide. Sounds harmless. It is not. It is soluble. Water moves through it. Freeze-thaw cycles attack it. Carbon dioxide from the air reacts with it and slowly, steadily, from the inside out, it weakens the entire slab. It is not the surface that fails first. It is what is underneath. Now here is where Metakaolin changes everything. When you add it to your cement mix, it does not sit there passively. It reacts. It eats that calcium hydroxide, the weakening byproduct, and converts it into more calcium silicate hydrate. More of the strong stuff, less of the weak stuff. It is like adding a filter to the entire chemical reaction. And what comes out is denser, less porous, nearly waterproof, and dramatically more durable. That is the science. Simple, proven, and completely buried. In 1936, a researcher named Roy W. Carlson, working with the U.S. Bureau of Standards, published Document number 871, government-backed, rigorous, methodical. Its conclusion was unambiguous. Pozzolanic additives increased concrete compressive strength by up to 300% compared to standard Portland cement mixes, 3 times stronger, in an official government document in 1936. Carlson recommended the additive be made standard for all federal construction. His recommendation was buried. By 1947, the major cement manufacturers had reorganized the industry standards committees, and pozzolan was quietly dropped from residential specifications. The reason was written in plain English in the meeting minutes. Concrete that lasts 100 years means 1 purchase per lifetime. Concrete that lasts 25 years means 4. 4 times the sales, 4 times the bags, 4 times the contractor calls. That is the math that erased your grandfather's recipe. And there is a second document you should know about. In 1952, an agricultural engineer named Howard P. Matthew published a USDA bulletin specifically addressing additive-enhanced concrete for rural farm construction. Practical, clear, named specific clay additives, gave mixing ratios, cited decades of field performance data from actual farm buildings, exactly the kind of document a farmer or a homeowner could pick up and use. Within a few years, it was out of print. Libraries were asked to return or dispose of their copies as outdated agricultural guidance. But one librarian at a small regional agricultural college in the Midwest refused to comply. She kept her copy. That bulletin still exists today, and the ratios Howard P. Matthew documented in 1952 align almost exactly with what the Amish Bishop in Gordonville described to me from pure oral tradition. Different sources. Different decades, same formula. You do not accidentally arrive at the same answer from opposite directions, unless that answer is simply correct. And here is the part that should concern all of us, not just our wallets. The cement industry is responsible for approximately 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions, more than the entire aviation industry, more than all the trucks on every highway in the world. Every ton of cement produced releases nearly a ton of CO2. Geopolymer concrete, which uses calcined clays instead of Portland cement, can reduce those emissions by up to 80%. The technology exists. The science is solid. Multiple countries are already using it. But the major cement producers have shown almost no interest in transitioning, because transitioning means writing off hundreds of billions in existing infrastructure. So instead, the industry funds research that questions geopolymer durability. It lobbies for building codes that specify Portland cement by name, and it keeps the world locked into a 19th century material when 21st century alternatives are sitting right there. Comment below right now. Did you know cement was designed to fail? Because most people do not, and that is exactly how they want it. The largest stone structures on Earth have been standing for 4,500 years. No cracking, no spalling, no repair crews, and a French chemist spent 30 years trying to prove they were never stone at all. What if the ancient world already solved the concrete problem, completely? and we have spent the last century pretending it never happened. In 1972, a French materials chemist named Joseph Davidovits started doing something that made Egyptologists very uncomfortable. He started analyzing pyramid stone samples under a microscope. And what he found did not look like quarried limestone, it looked like cast limestone. The mineral structure, instead of showing the natural layered crystalline pattern you would see in cut rock, showed a random amorphous arrangement. The kind of arrangement you get when material is mixed and poured, not carved. Davidovits proposed what became known as the geopolymer theory of the pyramids. His argument: the ancient Egyptians did not cut 2.3 million blocks and drag them up ramps. They mixed crushed limestone, water, natron, a naturally occurring salt, and a specific clay-derived binder. They cast the blocks in place, on site, like concrete forms. The chemistry checks out. Natron reacts with limestone slurry in exactly the way Davidovits described. Now, mainstream Egyptology has not officially accepted this theory. But here is what nobody disputes. Geopolymer concrete, when properly made, has demonstrated stability across thousands of years. Whether or not the pyramids are the example, the material science is real. The ancient world understood calcined clay chemistry 4,500 years before Portland cement existed, and they built things that are still standing while your driveway is not. Let us come forward a few thousand years. 1756. Cornwall, England. A civil engineer named John Smeaton was given what was considered an impossible job. Build a lighthouse on the Eddystone Rock, a dangerous reef 14 miles off Plymouth, fully exposed to the open Atlantic. Previous structures on that site had been destroyed by storms. One burned, one was swept away entirely. Smeaton had a material problem. Standard lime mortar failed when wet, and this lighthouse was going to be constantly wet. So he did something methodical. He tested every kind of limestone he could find, every aggregate, every clay. He ran controlled experiments before the modern scientific method was even fully codified. He kept meticulous notes. His book, A Narrative of the Building and a Description of the Construction of the Eddystone Lighthouse, published in 1791, lays out the entire research program in extraordinary detail. It is still in print. You can buy it on Amazon for $30. What Smeaton discovered: hydraulic lime made with a high clay content, what we would now call containing pozzolanic compounds, set underwater and produced mortar dramatically harder than anything else available. He used it. He built the lighthouse. It stood for 123 years against Atlantic storms before it was decommissioned, not because it failed, but because the rock beneath it was eroding. The structure itself was so sound, they dismantled it and rebuilt it on shore, where it still stands today as a monument. When they took it apart, the mortar joints were so hard they had to be chiseled out individually. The concrete had not weakened. It had, if anything, grown stronger over a century of constant saltwater immersion. That was 1756. The same material, the same result. 300 years before your contractor told you to just use the bag mix from the home improvement store. Now here is the practical part. This is what you do this weekend. Drive to the feed store. Buy a 10 lb bag of Kaolin clay for $9. Spread 2 lbs thin on a steel baking sheet. Put it in your charcoal grill at full heat, lid closed, for 1 to 2 hours. You need sustained heat around 1200 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. A full chimney of charcoal, vents fully open. Lid closed gets you there. Let it cool slowly inside the grill as the coals die down. Crush any lumps with a rolling pin. Store in a sealed bucket. That is your Metakaolin, the same product contractors buy for $40 a pound. You just made it for 90 cents. For new pours, add 10 to 15% Metakaolin by weight of your cement. For every 80 lb bag of Portland, add about 10 to 12 lbs of your calcined clay. Mix it dry first, then add sand, gravel, and water like normal. Reduce water slightly. Metakaolin stiffens the mix fast. Work quickly. For existing cracked concrete, the slurry method, mix 1 part Metakaolin to 3 parts Portland cement. Add water slowly until you reach pancake batter consistency. Wet your concrete surface first. Dry concrete pulls moisture out too fast and the bond fails. Brush the slurry into every crack with a stiff bristle brush. Work it in deep. Second coat after 10 minutes. Cover with plastic sheeting. Cure for 72 hours minimum. Total cost, $14, 1 afternoon. 3 winters of protection starting immediately. What you get in return: 73% reduction in water absorption, 40% higher compressive strength at 28 days, chloride penetration resistance 4 times higher, and a projected lifespan, based on accelerated weathering tests at the University of New South Wales, of 3 to 5 times longer than standard Portland cement. That is the difference between replacing your driveway in 20 years and replacing it in 80. That is the difference between leaving your grandchildren a crumbling foundation and leaving them one that will still be standing when their grandchildren are born. I want to close with something that has been sitting with me since that conversation in Gordonville. The bishop did not give me a formula from a book. He gave me something handed down by his father, who received it from his father, going back to farmers in Switzerland in the 1700s. That knowledge survived an ocean crossing. It survived generations. It survived because a community chose not to forget it. The Carlson document, the Matthew Bulletin, Smeaton's field notes, Davidovit's lab results. The bishop's quiet answer: we added powder to it. All of it pointing the same direction. All of it suppressed, reclassified, or simply allowed to fade. Because concrete that lasts a century is bad for a $400 billion business model. The knowledge was not destroyed, it was just hidden. And every time one of us pulls it back out and uses it, the shadow gets a little smaller. So mix the Metakaolin, pour the slurry, save the driveway, tell your neighbor, show your kid. Write it in a notebook your grandchildren will find in a drawer 50 years from now. Because the most radical thing you can do in a world built on planned obsolescence is to build something that outlasts you. Comment below: I am making the mix. If you are trying this, I want to know how it goes. Share this if it changes how you think about what you have been sold. Because the only way this kind of knowledge survives is if people like you refuse to let it disappear. See you in the next one.